we've got cards for both March and February that have been data mined. Some of them have recently gotten changed, and they look pretty interesting. Some of them, you know, releasing brand new styles of gameplay. Some of them introducing better art, like just buffs to older decks. Some of them just also introducing brand new keywords. There's a lot of really cool stuff to talk about with them, so let's break that down right now. So this is data mined to be the Season Pass card for February, releasing on the 3rd with the 4/5 stat line. On reveal, next turn you get +1 energy for each turn that you've ended with unspent energy. And that ability has actually been data mined and such for a month or so. Like it's been a second. But I really want to focus on the second part of the ability here, which is pretty interesting. This gains that much power. Now, before I thought the card was honestly kind of mediocre and not really the most interesting, because basically what this did was just say, the energy that you've lost, you can get back. And you kind of already are getting that back with a lot of other cards. But there's also another really big deal with this card that this doesn't really work with She-Hulk. So this is, but it also is like an alternative to She-Hulk, which is interesting. I think that this is going to be a different style of deck. This is right, so this will slot very cleanly into the High Evolutionary deck. Like, right, that'll be a great card in there, completely fine. But you just cut She-Hulk now for Star-Lord, because one of the biggest things, and chat's noticing as well, if you're just playing it on turn 5 and you've skipped 1 energy each and every turn, that means that this card is immediately a 4/10. That also gives you a bunch of extra energy for the following turn, and potentially even a better alternative to She-Hulk inside of that deck. Really cool and really interesting. The question of it becomes like, okay, well, where do I maybe want to play a Magic or something like that? And I think if with Magic in particular, my guess is that you're probably playing Magic on turn, I would say probably turn 4 with maybe a Misty Knight is my personal guess, or you're trying to do something with maybe, Superior Spider-Man or Luna Snow, something like that. I feel like one of those cards would be what you slot in on turn 5. Then, what is it? And then I feel like what you can probably still go with on the later turns is you can do Warlock stuff. I love an opportunity to run Jim Hammond, which I feel like this card also works with, so I'm more than here for that. This just seems like a really interesting and cool card. I don't think this is an upgrade to High Evolutionary. It is an alternative to like She-Hulk in those decks, and you have to play the game a little bit differently. And that's good. That is a fine thing to have. And I am interested in this card. I think it's going to be pretty cool and pretty fun. I like what this is going to be able to do. I don't know if it's going to be busted, but I think it's going to be fine. I don't think there are any issues with this card, honestly. This is probably a balanced card, in my personal opinion. I'm going to say that now, and it's going to be busted, you know, as time goes on, potentially. But, yeah, it is what it is. Now, Magus is potentially just a card I feel like I've wanted in Snap for a bit, and I didn't know that until I saw this ability. It's 3 cost 5 power with the activate ability, copy the text of a character in your deck with cost equal to your unspent energy. Now, this isn't a card that you're really probably running inside of a High Evolutionary deck. Potentially you still could, though, if you wanted to try to do wanted to try to use, what's his face? The Star-Lord, right? On turn 5 and you only played a Misty Knight. You could do that, but I also really love this as a potential enabler for a Hela deck, in which you're not running as many 6s because we have cards like Fin Fang Foom and Death, and a lot of good 5-drops. So maybe you could just bring Hela out of the deck with a Magus, or Mr. Negative, or even Jane Foster, but on skipping either turn 4 or turn 5, just to give yourself the card that you really need there. This card just seems awesome. I don't know if this is busted. This is a card that if they took a point of power away, I don't think it'd be bad. But it also is just like this is sick. I love what this card could potentially do. I feel like it's very interesting. Magus is just a really awesome style of a card. I love this, like, okay, cool. You're not spending energy, but you're gonna get some sort of like, where you're basically still paying that energy. You have 2 different ways for it. Free Hammer for Thors is another good shout for that, yeah. I like it. I just think this card's fun. To be fair, Thor, by the way, isn't good, but still, I'll still cope on it. I love it. Magus is fun. I'm stoked. Moondragon Urban is the next card that's also coming out the same day. I know, pretty interesting. Okay, did you not want to stay? Okay, then why did you ask me to? It is a 2 cost 2 power card with the end of turn ability plus 2 power if you've played 1 card this turn and spent all your energy. So this is a card that also doesn't seem busted, but it also doesn't seem good. This card is probably going to be fine in one deck that I could really think about. It's probably going to be fine inside of like a Doom 2099 deck. And that's really it. I don't think that Moondragon's going to be fantastic. By the way, this card, apparently she actually like got her ability from the Dragon of the Moon. I didn't know that that was an actual like correlation there, because I was like, people are getting their names confused. And that's because apparently she literally is named after it. So cool, I guess, but it also doesn't seem amazing, honestly. I think there's some ways that you could potentially use it as well, in terms of a lot of Hela decks do only play one card per turn. I think, like, again, just like cards where you're playing a lot of big stuff in ramp as well. This card just seems fine. If you are getting one card per turn, this could easily come to be a 2/8, 2/10, and that's good, right? And we've seen that with Chamber. So this feels fine. It's not insane. I don't think it's going to be a bad card. I mean, I like Moondragon. It seems cool. It doesn't seem like it's also going to be a card that it works inside of a lot of the decks that I personally enjoy, but I like the idea of the card. I like what this can do. So I don't personally have any qualms here. Yeah, it's a 2/4 guaranteed on 2. Yeah, true. That is because she doesn't specify the word other in her ability, which I feel like a lot of people consistently miss. Even with cards like Star-Lord, Master of the Sun, it doesn't say each other turn. No, it just says each turn. That's including its current turn. So yeah, this card seems pretty solid. Yeah, just again, not interesting. Drax, Avatar of Life, was actually previously data mined at a 4-cost 4-power stat line with a +4 in its ability. However, it is now a 3/4 with end of turn +3 power if your opponent played a card with greater power this turn, +3 power. I maybe said +3 power twice, but whatever, I don't care anymore, because the second part of the ability is what's really cool. Move to that card if you'd be winning its location. Now, there's some interesting stuff here. I heard some people talk about this card like, okay, cool. Well, then why would I want him to abandon his lane if he's just going to be putting that power in a lane that I'd already be winning, right? Maybe your opponent puts a card inside of a lane that you're completely fine in. To that, I'm going to say a really fair point that I don't think was initially considered. Okay, so if your opponent plays a card at a location that you are winning, and it's a card with greater power than Drax, and even if you were already winning there, that just means they played a really big card in a lane that Drax isn't in. And it seems honestly fine, because your opponent has to keep playing bigger and bigger cards. This just feels like a weird semi-counter to like a Red Skull type of thing. And it does have a pretty good amount of scaling. I think this card's going to be probably okay. I don't have any personal, I think it's fine. This also seems like a very fun card for the end of turn archetype, and it's fun. We're talking about Moondragon right before this, right? Moondragon doesn't feel like it's going to work out well because end of turn typically likes to run cards like Sunspot and Havoc and Thena, and you can't really put Moondragon in that type of deck. However, Drax seems like it's a lot of fine, and I feel like I'm going to be okay with this card. I don't think it's going to be bad. I don't think it's going to be insane. I even don't personally think that the +3 power is busted. Honestly, I think the +3 power for Drax, Avatar of Life, is probably fine, because this card is also just not staying at a certain location. So if you'd be winning the other location that he was previously in, that does mean you'd be able to, make him go elsewhere. However, does this mean that we're going to finally see like a ghost meta occur? I don't know. I'm here for it. I like it. Major Victory is data mined to release at on February 15th, and it's said to be coming in a limited time game mode. However, we don't know which game mode, but it is a 3/4 with the on reveal ability. Add 2 members of the Guardians crew to your hand. And according to data mines, the Guardians crew are Gamora, Groot, Mantis, Rocket Raccoon, Drax, and Star-Lord. That's all the base versions of the card. No Star-Lord, Master of the Sun, no Drax, Avatar of Life, just the base ones. Why? I don't get the point of this guy. He doesn't seem good. I think he's just very mediocre. I don't get the point of Major Victory. I don't know what I want to do with him. The best thing about it is that you can play those Guardians for cheaper with a Quinjet, and I guess they kind of work with Victoria Hand already, maybe that's okay for it being like the plus power if you miss on the guessing or whatever. Sure. I don't know. This card seems very bad. I actually feel like this is it just doesn't seem good. I don't know what's going to happen with this guy, but it's just fine. Not good. Actually, it's not even fine. No, it's just bad. I don't see the point of this card. I just don't. I'm going to be proven wrong potentially next month, but right now I see major victory, and he seems like a major fail. Kraglin's a 3-3. He was data mined originally at a 3-2, is now a 3-3. With the unreal ability, banish the top card of your deck. And if it was a 4-cost or higher, +2 energy next turn. Otherwise, this gets +4 power. Maybe it's okay. This kind of feels like a weird version of like Electro, in which you lose a card potentially that you maybe weren't just going to be playing in the slightest, and maybe you'll be able to ramp out some pretty big stuff, right? If I play Kraglin on turn 3, on turn 6, I could play Galactus. Assuming I banished, a 4-cost or higher card. However, it then turns into a 3-7, which is... So, like, both sides of it are good, right? You have a big buff that you can get in terms of either being able to play a 6-drop on turn 4, and your opponent can't, in comparison to, both Wave, which your opponent definitely can. Otherwise, you get +4 power. This is such an interesting card. I don't know if it's good. I feel like it's not gonna be amazing, but what is it? As I'm streaming this live, recording it live, I'll actually like to shout for high Evo in terms of if you somehow are able to hit high Evo with this card. Okay, I'm interested. It works with Howard. That's fun. A lot of fun things about this card. Are they good things? I don't really know, but this is data mined to be another Series 5 card that releases the week after Drax. We'll see how this card actually, lands, but I'm not crazy about it, but I'm also willing to be proven wrong as time goes on. The next Series 5 card to release in the February season of Marvel Snap, Guardians of the Galaxy Season Volume 2, Greatest Hits, I don't know, is Jack Flag. With the 3-cost 3-power stat line, ongoing, your cards here with increased power get +2 power. Now, if you feel like this ability is a little bit familiar, look at Diamondback. This is legitimately just the inverse of Diamondback, which, by the way, apparently Jack Flag's like origin story is he started off fighting the Serpent Society. So very fitting in that way. But Jack Flag is... I don't like this card, very specifically because increased power requires that there already is green power on the card, right? So when the card has a green number, that means that the power has increased from when we saw it last time. Or according to then it's like base stats or whatever. And yes, it does work with Captain America, right? It also has like direct synergy with him in terms of his both of them being ongoing cards. But if for some reason you have let's imagine Blue Marvel on the board, and then your opponent plays Hazmat, or even before that, according to Gilgamesh, who has the same wording of increased power for cards, Gilgamesh doesn't get any buffs. Whereas a Diamondback would still be working. So, I don't love that bit. However, even with that in mind, this is just another good card like a Captain Carter that you play into a lane with Moonstone, or you even play this in the same turn with maybe maybe even like a Chameleon or a Prodigy, being able to buff up a bunch of cards in the same lane. This feels like a really good way just to buff up the Spectrum ongoing deck that took a little bit of a hit when Sam Wilson lost the game start ability for throwing a shield on the board, but that's honestly still fine. This card will probably be fine. I don't think I hate it. It takes a bit of setup. Chill. Final data mined card for the February season is Starhawk, releasing on the 26th in another indeterminate game mode, according to, again, data mines, with the 2-cost 2-power stat line and the on-reveal ability. On odd turns, give your cards at the left location +1 power, and on even turns, give to the right location. Now, this is a little bit kind of strange here, but bear with me. On turn 1, 3, 5, and 7, if you play him to the right lane, any other cards in the right lane, including himself, get just +1 power, which is fair. And honestly, again, with Jack Flag, who can again buff himself up, feels pretty cool. And this also buffs itself up. And then on the even turns, it's 2, 6, and 4. You're playing this at the left location. You can also somehow, if you have a way to copy this ability again, you can potentially do that as well and have it happen multiple times to whatever lane you want it to go for. This is fine. I don't think this is a bad card. It's not going to be like a consistent, like every single turn you're doing boom, boom, boom. It doesn't go to like an insane amount of power, but this is a 2/6, basically. And that's fine. 2/6 is good. Nothing wrong here with it. Cosmo stops it, but also you don't need to be in that lane to do it. It just always does it. So I like it. I'm cool with this card. And now we got March. March is a pretty cool season that it introduces a brand new style of ability called an objective ability. Now, again, this is a data mined bit, so I'm not certain if this is actually how it's going to work, but according to data mines, an objective ability works in this way. An objective completes after the turn if in play with its condition met. So I'm assuming that if for some reason I haven't played Ensabai Noor yet, but I have the board entirely full, which by the way, actually let's talk about his ability so I can talk about how it would trigger. He has the objective ability, have a full front row at each location, and then it transforms, if whenever that happens, into Apocalypse Celestials Chosen. Now, we'll talk about that ability in a second, but just to verify how this works. So if I have the full front row at each location, according to the way that the objective ability is data mined, this card needs to be in play, its ability has to have been met, and if it has been met, at the end of the turn, or it says after the turn in the like little tooltip that is data mined. However, typically the way that's worked in Marvel Snap is that just means same thing as the end of turn, which is unfortunate, but hopefully eventually that gets fixed. Sorry, that's minutia that I should not be getting into here. It seems like it'll happen exactly then, at the end of that turn. Probably in the same order that they were played, if I had to hazard a guess. And according to the way that all the data mines are showing this card, or the abilities, they happen once, and that's it. It's not a continual trigger, because that feels like it'd be really busted. But Ensabai Noor, a 4/5, this is, by the way, Apocalypse, like the younger version, or like him inside of Egypt or whatever. He seems pretty cool. I like what this card does. It seems fine. And then you get to, obviously, whenever you transform him into Apocalypse Celestials Chosen. By the way, did you know, apparently, that the Celestials, Isan, Arishem, did you know they chose Apocalypse? I didn't. And then once he transforms into Apocalypse Celestials Chosen, he gets 2 extra power with, and then the on reveal ability, swap the lowest power card in your front row at any location with a card from your deck. Now that just seems fine. So if I've played a Hood on the board, all of a sudden my Hood gets shuffled back into my deck, and then it just gets into whatever other card I want, or not what I want, but just a random other card, and that's great. And as an end of turn, basically, it's type of ability, it's not end of turn, it's objective, whatever. As that type of an ability, it just gets to be, then your opponent can't stop it. Your opponent can't stop it from transforming. They could, if they play Cosmo onto Apocalypse's lane, then they could potentially stop it from, doing the on reveal. But this is going to be a really great card with stuff like Rhino, Debris, Shauna, stuff like that is going to be amazing. And especially Rhino and Debris, but we'll talk about why those two a little bit later with my favorite card, Data Mined, just ever. It seems great. I think this is fine. I don't think it's bad. I think this is probably just going to be an okay card. There's a lot of different ways you can use this guy, and he feels just reasonable. This is Data Mined to be the Season Pass card, and seems relatively okay. I think that Ensabai Noor and Apocalypse Celestials Chosen are fine. Iska the Unbeaten seems insane, and if this card releases as such, like, this is going to be... Iska the Unbeaten is data mined at a 3-cost, 2-power stat line, with the end of turn ability, if you're losing this location, double this card's power. This card seems... I don't get how this card could have this ability. This seems insane. I don't get it. If it does release in this way, this card will be busted. This card is great for Surfer, it's great for end of turn. Like, her whole ability in the comics is that she cannot be beaten. And that will be so true with this ability. You just don't lose her location. She'll keep doubling and doubling. And if you somehow have an invisible one that you've played and then you do it that way, it's insane. This card, if it releases as such, it's just nice of Second Dinner to release, a really great Season Pass card and a really bad Season Pass card in this Dragon season. And now, next month, or month following, we're going to get a card like Ensabai Noor and Iska the Unbeaten. Really swapping their roles here, and gosh, Iska is the best, just in terms of strength, raw strength, best card that we have data mined, bar none. We're getting some repeats of some characters y'all might be familiar with already. Now, while Juggernaut currently is a 4/5 that, you know, just wins his lane, basically, if you played any cards there, this new Juggernaut says you really can only get like a +6 power with a very difficult ability to do. I think the ability is a little bit easier than people are making out, but I think there's one big issue with this card. But anyway, so this is releasing again same time as both Iska and Ensaban Nur with 2/2, so it's a pretty, you can play it very easily. But with the objective ability, and again, so the objective abilities work in that they're kind of just like end of turn, except they only appear to happen once in the entire game, and they just do whatever the second part of the ability says afterwards. So with the objective ability, have 7 different powers among your other cards in play, and then whenever that happens, +6 power. So it's a 2/8. Can't happen multiple times. I don't believe so, unless I'm mistaken here entirely. But it's also 7 different powers among other cards. And I feel like this is an easier ability than people are personally thinking. And I understand why it feels difficult, right? It feels like it's gonna be a pretty high stat line. But you can do stuff here with this card. If I put down both Hood and the Demon, those are 2 cards that have pretty different stat lines in comparison to a lot of other cards that we already have in the game. So you've got 2 cards right there. This doesn't count itself, so a card like Merlin could be another 2 cost you play. You can then throw in a bunch of, Then you've thrown a 3 cost card. Maybe I can run Debris if I'm coping, probably not. But you got cards like Luna as well, who gives you another one potentially. Like, I think there are a variety of powers. You can go stuff with Kate Bishop. You can do a lot of generic Major Victory, right? I don't know if this is gonna be amazing. I don't know if it's gonna be even good. But I feel like the ability to trigger, like the way to trigger this ability is a little bit easier than people are thinking. But I'm also, guessing. We don't have this card. We can't test with this card. We don't know. So we'll wait and see as time passes to see if this actually does feel better or not. But it is, I think this is going to be fine. What is it? Does he, and chat's asking a question where it's like, does he lose the power if your other cards are destroyed? So he says in play, which means he is looking basically, if he's on the board, he is checking at some point at the end of one of your turns. If at the end of one of your turns, you have 7 different powers among your other cards in play, that's when he will trigger. So yeah, it probably is going to be difficult. Maybe potentially not good, but I'll cope on it a little bit and say I don't think it's as bad as people say. I remember Gambit, but I'm pretty sure the Gambit I remember has a 3/3 and cares about discarding. This one is an objective ability. Again, all these Gambit Horsemen of the Death, he has the objective ability where you have to play 6 total cost of created cards. Once you do that, you then randomly destroy 4 total cost of enemy cards. This is going to be the next Series 5 card data mine to be released on the 2nd week of the Age of Apocalypse season, and I don't know if this is going to be good. Because there's to be fair, there's only one thing you have to play with this card, right? You can either do something with Merlin, in which Merlin just gives you a bunch of skills, and you're probably playing other stuff in there as well that generate other skills, or I just get to play Mysterio, who every single version of Mysterio counts as a created card, and then that's 6 cost right there, and then you're done. That's it. So, this card does seem really easy to trigger, but it is random in what it destroys. It's gonna be interesting. I don't know how well this will go. It doesn't work though with cards like Brood. Like Brood doesn't work because you don't play the Broodlings. Anything that creates the cards. Shauna creates 1-cost cards, but you're not playing them yourself. So this card really seems specific. Mysterio's the only one that I can really say feels like it's gonna be the best card with it. You can do stuff with Kate Bishop, but also you could just play a card like Valentina or Iron Patriot, since this very specifically says 6 total cost with an uppercase C, and the uppercase C differential thing, uppercase C means that's the base cost that you're looking at there. So 6 cost with an uppercase C on Gambit means that if I just play a 4 cost, maybe, I don't know, Galactus First Steps that I got from a Valentina, that still just triggers Gambit. So it seems fine. And one of the other things I'll specify as well is that it doesn't say in play, in which it's not checking before. So we don't know, but it seems like this would be counting even before. We don't know. First skill that we actually have data mined, fun fact, Sandstorm, the Series 4 card, is pretty Darude, can be coming out in some sort of game mode, we don't know which one, on the 15th, with the on-reveal ability, add 2 cards to your hand. Wow, that doesn't seem great. Here's the kicker. Give them +1 power for each of your front row characters. Now, characters is a very important keyword here, in that if Sandstorm is in the front row, it obviously won't count itself, because that will get banished after it's done resolving. So, you gotta have a lot of other stuff out there. We've mentioned Debris and Rhino a little bit already, and they keep seeming like an interesting pair of cards. So, especially with a card like Patriot, or maybe even someone else we haven't gotten to yet, this card seems great. I love it. It seems like they're trying to build into weird stuff with like, okay, what if I just put a bunch of rocks and I just do a bunch of things with those? You can potentially still get great stuff with, Victoria Hand, but I really like what this card is going to be able to do and what potential synergies it brings into the game. Speaking of cards that are just going to be, honestly, really good with Doom 2099, looking at Moondragon, Caliban also seems pretty great. Releasing, again, the week following Gambit, Caliban, the Horseman of Pestilence, has the objective ability, have 3 cards that are 4 cost or higher in play. Now, again, the card that has an objective ability needs to be on the board in order for it to trigger. And since it says in play, this is it's continually checking each end of turn, so it doesn't matter if it happened before, it's checking at the end of its turn if that's happening. So I believe that's the way it would work. But as a 3/4 with the objective payoff of afflict the highest cost enemy card with -7 power, this is just amazing. This card works really cleanly with a lot of easy cards that generate multiple things. Cards like White Tiger, cards like Scarlet Spider is even being run nowadays, cards like a Doom or Doom 2099, which is, again, another really easy synergy with this card. You play either one of those cards and get an amazing amount of power, turning this card into a 3/11. There's people are potentially thinking that Drax, who could be a 3/10 after just 2 triggers, was busted. Yeah, this is a 3/11 that, again, is just a bonus for playing cards that this deck already probably wants to play. Caliban seems insane and amazing. This card is not one that's being talked about as much because it is just not as flashy. There's not as many interesting things here with this card. But it doesn't even require that you play them like Gambit does. It just says, have them on the board. This card's sick. Y'all keep hearing me talk about these rocks. And Selene, as well, the next Series 5 card to release, does as well rock. With the objective ability, have 3 cards with no abilities in play. So, turn 1, turn 2, I'm going to be playing Rhino. Turn 3, I'm playing Debris. Turn 4, Selene just triggers at the end of that turn if you play her then. Or you wait till the final turn to play her. She seems awesome, y'all. Selene, with the objective payoff, stealing 5 power from an enemy card here, this is great. This also, again, works with Mysterio. Mysterio just continually being an amazing card. This just feels like another really big payoff, but this is 4 cost, so it's a little bit harder to try to use. But as long as those cards are still in play, you're fine. If you've gotten Central Park, she just triggers immediately. But as a steal does get stopped by Luke Cage, I'm uncertain. But this is awesome. Selene is just going to be pretty amazing. I don't think that there's a way to do it multiple times. I'm talking about rocks a lot, right, for this March season. But let's not overstate that rocks and Mysterio are just going to be the best cards of the March season right after Iska, because they just go with everything. Okay, but why do I want to even play rocks, right? Like, who cares? Ozymandias does, and this is my favorite card. We're talking about all these rocks. Ozymandias is data mined to be a 5/10 with the ongoing ability, your rocks have +3 power. And rocks are characters. So, this is just going to be insane. I love this card. I cannot wait to mess with Ozymandias, just because this is going to be introducing, right? We already have a new type of ability with objective. We have like different types of ways that we're going to want to play the game in terms of filling out that front row with both Sandstorm and Ensavan Nur, as well as Ozymandias giving us a rock card. This is awesome, right? You can go, like I mentioned, you play Rhino, who then, by the way, was a 2/5 that gave you a rock that filled a location. What if instead now he's a 2/8? And if I have Debris on the board as well, then that makes it into, what is it? Debris is then a 3/13. and I play Ozymandias on turn 5. Then guess what? On turn 6, I play Mystique and Chameleon, and turning all the rocks into 9 power cards. I'm so stoked about Ozymandias. Ozymandias is awesome, and I cannot wait for it. This is super cool and super interesting. There's also, I've heard people talking about, one of the best also potential combos with this card is, I really like the idea of Supergiant. Supergiant feels like a really cool way to potentially hide your power output until the final turn of the game. And you could then play Ozymandias, hide it, turn 6, you play all your rocks on the board, and then all of a sudden, you get a big profit on the final turn, and they weren't fully ready for it. Ozymandias is awesome. I cannot wait for it. It's a Series 4 card as well, coming out on the 29th of March, releasing in some sort. I love it. I am so stoked. This card is probably honestly too good, by the way. This should probably be a 5/8, but I'm here for it. I love this card, and I don't care. Yeah, they could bring this to a 5/6, and I still would run the crap out of this card. I cannot wait. Ramatut is the last card we have data mined. With the on-reveal ability, use 3 on-reveals from cards of years past. Now, this is a weird type of ability. It's a 4/5, right? The last card, Series 5 card. And we actually have a full list of all of the cards that count for Ramatut. This is a list that I have from Snap.fan about all the abilities that Ramatut can potentially copy. It is not every single on-reveal that has released before Ramatut. It's not also all of them of just older cards. It's like a variety of them. I'm uncertain of the rhyme or reason here. If y'all know, let me know down below. But it's okay. Ramatut feels like it's not gonna be amazing. I'm honestly not as interested in this card. I feel like it's just basically you roll some dice and you kind of hope for whatever you're gonna get, especially as a 4-cost card. It could do really awesome things in terms of like being a Hobgoblin and then being a Destroyer and then being a MODOK. Or it could also be a Destroyer, a MODOK, and then a Hobgoblin. And it gets a lot worse. So we'll see. I'm uncertain about this card. I'm not sold on it. Maybe it'll be fine. I don't think it'll be competitive, but you know, sometimes cards can be fun, and that's enough. So there's like 18 different cards that are data mined for the next couple months, and they're awesome. I think there's some really cool stuff, and most of them honestly feel pretty balanced. So, Iska is the only card I think is probably not, and honestly Ozymandias might be too good, but legitimately everything else feels pretty fair and interesting. Also, like, cool abilities. Some of them, you know, actually introducing like brand new things with Ozymandias and Ensavan Nor with the objective keyword. And then some of them also are just, all right, yeah, this is just something that probably just fits into a couple of existing decks like Jack Flag. So I'm excited for what they're going to be doing. I think there's a lot of really cool cards here and a lot of interesting stuff. Again, I'm really just saying Iska withstanding in terms of the balance for the coming cards, but I think they're pretty solid. I'm interested in what Second Dinner's doing. I like it. I think it's probably fair. And if y'all have any opinions on it, let me know down below. Also, let me know what you think of this style of video. It's different than what I normally do entirely, but all those sort of like graphics that you can see, I make them for a lot of creators and I never use them. So I felt like it's probably at least good to try it at least once and see how it does. So let me know by just, you know, watching the video. And if you made it to the end, then you did that. So thank you. Have a good one, have a great one, and until the next one, which will be Fin Fang Foom, coming out in 2 days. God, I cannot wait for Fin Fang Foom, y'all. There's some fun stuff happening. See y'all around. Have a good one. Peace out.